a little bag packed.
Many people across the West refusing to let their guard down as potentially dangerous weather moves in. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Alex Savage. We will get to the severe weather threats across the West in just a moment. But first, to a developing story we're following tonight in Utah. That's where 5 people have been found dead inside a home. This is all happening in West Valley City, just outside of Salt Lake City. Police say 2 adults and 3 children were found dead here, all of them members of the same family. Investigators also say a 17-year-old was rushed to the hospital after being shot at this scene. Their condition is unclear tonight. Authorities have still not said how the people in that home died. We'll continue to bring you new information on this developing story from Utah as we learn more. We shift now to talk about our weather, and we're seeing strikingly different patterns across the West. The Pacific Northwest is facing a mix of wind, snow, and freezing rain. But we begin tonight in Southern California, where dry and windy weather is returning. And as Fox's Matthew Seedorf reports tonight, crews working on a destructive wildfire in Malibu are really concerned about those conditions.
Strong winds and dry fire weather conditions returning to Malibu as crews continue recovery efforts from the Franklin fire.
I mean, you just never know what's going to happen, do you? You always have a little bag packed.
A red flag warning now in effect through Wednesday evening, calling for strong Santa Ana winds between 20 and 40 miles per hour with gusts to 60. Firefighters on patrol across Malibu Canyon looking for possible hot spots among the 4,000 acres charred by the Franklin fire.
Just making sure that those hot spots burning within the, or not actively burning, but still smoldering, that they don't hop over, somewhere outside of the perimeter, and then it can cause reignition.
Fire crews stationed at Zuma Beach just in case hot spots flare up. The massive out-of-control flames has destroyed at least 20 buildings and damaged 27 others. The fire now 63% contained.
We have engines, we have crews ready to, attack this thing.
We are actively shutting off power to our power lines, so they are de-energized during these strong wind conditions.
Almost 100,000 Southern California Edison customers could face power shutoffs through Wednesday across Ventura, San Bernardino, and LA counties.
I got a notice on my phone as well, so I'm out getting my stuff done before that happens and preparing.
Residents and businesses finally back from days of evacuation orders, now watching the dry, windy fire weather closely.
We did like a soft opening Saturday where a smaller crew of us came in to just assess the scene and get the air scrubbers going so that way the smoke smell is out of the store.
We were absolutely hugely grateful to the amazing job the fire people have done, because they've been fantastic. When you look at what's burnt compared to land as opposed to homes and structures, it's absolutely phenomenal.
And that was Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf reporting tonight from Southern California. Now, in the Pacific Northwest, wind is a big issue, especially at lower elevations. But in the mountains, it's all about the snow. People who showed up for today's opening of ski season at Snoqualmie Pass were able to take advantage of several inches of new snowfall. Traffic officials are reminding drivers about the dangers on the roads that come along with the conditions like this.
Everybody needs to, I'm going slow, and it's don't make any sudden movements kind of weather as far as the roads are concerned. So you make a sudden movement, you're just going to slide.
Thank you very much. Thank you. See ya.
And freezing rain is expected to hit this area next, so transportation crews, they have been out preparing the roads with de-icer and also plowing as best they can. Now, people in the Seattle area can expect gusty winds through tomorrow morning. Here's a live look at conditions in the city tonight, where a high wind warning is in effect. For more, let's bring in KTVU Chief Meteorologist Bill Martin, who is tracking the shifting weather patterns across the West. And we certainly are seeing a variety of weather systems.
We've got some scattered showers in Seattle right now, light scattered showers after a high of 46. But like you pointed out earlier, we've got these weather extremes, right? I mean, we're talking about in the Pacific Northwest, scattered showers, rain, snow. You go south of Point Conception, which is down to Southern California and parts of the desert Southwest, and you've got temperatures that are in the 70s and dry. They haven't seen rain. So most of the rain in California and on the West Coast has fallen out from about Monterey or Big Sur up into Seattle, up into the Puget Sound area. a lot of rain. So fire danger not so bad, but Southern California not getting that. So as this dry weather continues, the winds start to get going offshore as an offshore flow or Santa Ana wind condition. So Santa Anas are normal this time of year, but it's not normal to not have any rain. So they're very dry in Southern California, and that is the big concern, clearly, is that you've got this wet area in the Pacific Northwest, but that's where it stays. All the rain this weekend stays north of San Francisco pretty much. You see scattered showers showing up in Portland right now, up in Seattle. We saw that on the live camera. Temperatures cool, freezing snow, freezing rain in some places. And then for Northern California, a few clouds, a lot of fog in the Central Valley. And then we get into a forecast for rainfall. And you see in the Pacific Northwest up over an inch, but no rain, as we kind of were talking about earlier, no rain really showing up south of San Francisco. And it's been that way for a while. And with that in mind, you know, Southern California bracing for the potential for fire concerns, which is a drag for this time of year. The rain, this system right now, this is the forecast for tomorrow morning, next 12 hours or so. And you can see the fog in the Central Valley down to Bakersfield. You see the clouds over Northern California and the rain picking up in Oregon all the way south to Seattle, or all the way north to Seattle, and you don't see much happening down in the desert Southwest or in Southern California. So that's the problem, and that's going to continue. Really, and for the foreseeable future. I just pushed you through into Friday and just ran a long-range model, and you're going to see this system come on shore on Saturday, but it stays north. There is a shot for rain in Southern California as we get into Monday, Tuesday, right around the winter equinox, pardon me, or winter solstice. There you go. And that's going to be a potential for some rain. But in the meantime, they're waiting. Phoenix, 72 degrees today. Plenty of sunshine down there. And then the forecast, and just throw in some panels so you can get a feel for what's happening. And Pacific Northwest has rain coming and going. Nice dry period for most of California as we go through the next few days. But on Saturday, Northern California gets back into the rain. Down in Phoenix, temperatures are in the 80s. In Denver, you got a little bit of snow, but then Thursday, Friday turns out to be pretty nice. There you go. There's the forecast.
All right, Bill, thank you. Today, a San Francisco jury delivered a guilty verdict in the killing of Cash App founder Bob Lee. After 7 days of deliberations, the jury convicted Nima Momeni of second-degree murder for that deadly stabbing. This means Momeni is facing 15 years to life in prison with an additional year for using a knife in the crime. Momeni stabbed Lee 3 times, including in the heart, back in April of 2023. Prosecutors said Momeni believed Lee's alleged dealer had drugged and groped Momeni's sister. One of Momeni's defense attorneys said today they are planning to file an appeal.
Disappointed. We continue to fight on. In the heat of battle, a lot of legal decisions are made that need to be revisited with a calmer eye to make sure everything was done right, so that we make sure that Mr. Momeni did in fact receive a fair trial.
And Momeni will be back in court on January 10th to set a date for sentencing. The Federal Bureau of Prisons will pay out $116 million to more than 100 women who say they were sexually abused by staff members at a San Francisco Bay Area prison. The Department of Justice approved that settlement today. It's the largest settlement by the Bureau in U.S. history. The Federal Correctional Institute in Dublin, which has since closed, was known as the, quote, rape club by staff and prisoners because of the rampant sexual abuse of inmates by staff. Under the settlement, each of the women will receive an average of $1.12 million.
Sends a strong message to correctional officers across the United States that sexual assault in prisons will not be tolerated, that the government took this very seriously.
Since 2021, at least 8 FCI Dublin employees have been charged with sexually abusing inmates. All but 1 have been convicted. Coming up tonight here on West Coast Wrap, 14 people detained after a violent home invasion here in the West. Tonight, investigators lay out this hours-long ordeal for the victims. Plus, more unusual drone sightings in the West, this time in the Pacific Northwest.
We saw like 8 to 10 of them, I think, in just a span of like maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
First off, it's like their own little light show going on up there. It's the flashing red, green, and white lights.
Investigators believe gang activity is at the root of a home invasion robbery in Aurora, Colorado. That's a city that's been thrust into the country's heated immigration debate. Authorities say more than a dozen people tied up, pistol whipped, and terrorized a man and woman at an apartment complex last night. The man was also stabbed during that hours-long ordeal. He is expected to survive. The victims called police after they were eventually set free. 14 people have been detained, but police have not said which gang they suspect in connection with that crime. But that apartment complex where this all unfolded got national attention earlier this year when gangs tied to Venezuela were blamed for a variety of crimes at that property. Aurora's police chief has said the complex where many Venezuelan immigrants live is poorly managed, but he insists the area is not controlled by gangs. There are plans now to shut down parts of that complex. Fox's Aaliyah Sims has more tonight on where that is going to leave tenants.
Carlos has been living at the edge at Lowry on East 12th Avenue and Dallas Street for 2 years, and he is concerned about the future. He worries he will be evicted at the last minute with nowhere to go. He says he has been experiencing a lot of problems, including no heat, no water, and pest infestation.
So now what we're asking of the city of Aurora is to step in and help these tenants relocate. We're asking for them to be accountable.
The Edge at Lowry Apartments was thrown in the national spotlight after these videos of armed men went viral. The city is now trying to shut down the complex through upcoming criminal nuisance hearings. Unlike the CBZ management property on Nome Street that the city shut down back in August because of inhabitable conditions.
They're terrified of not knowing what's to come. A lot of them have already been pushed out. Some of them are living out of their cars, living on the streets.
The city of Aurora said in a statement there has not yet been an agreement finalized between the city and the property owners, and that court proceedings will continue next month. To close the property would require court approval first, in which the city would provide a notice of at least 30 days to renters. V. Reeves with House Keys Action Network Denver expects about 200 families that will need help relocating.
And so what we're demanding is that the city step in to offer support for these tenants to move out of their situation of abuse from these neglectful landlords and to move into safe housing.
And that was Fox 31's Aaliyah Sims reporting tonight. The city of Aurora doesn't expect any updates on this matter until the middle of January at the earliest. All tenants will get 30 days notice before they do need to leave. The woman from Hawaii whose disappearance in early November led to a weeks-long search in California is now back in the United States and breaking her silence. Hannah Kobayashi, in a statement, said that she didn't know everything that was happening in the media during her disappearance. She also said she is still processing the situation and will now focus on healing and finding peace. Kobayashi went missing in early November after she failed to board a scheduled connecting flight from Los Angeles to the East Coast. She has not given any explanation for why she did not communicate with her family during the time that she was listed as missing. Well, some of the unusual drone sightings that we're hearing from people all across the country are now starting to come from Washington State. Fox 13's Dave Detling spoke with two people in Tacoma after they spotted mysterious drones flying over their neighborhood.
They circled around that way.
Peering up at the stars in Pierce County,
coming up through here.
Kristen and Shane Eldowin won't find any answers in the sky, but they will remember what they saw Sunday night that made them push record.
See if we can see them flying up in the sky, and sure enough, there was a bunch of them coming in from all sorts of directions.
When we were out here, probably saw 8 to 10 of them, I think, in just a span of maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Why are they circling our house?
Cell phone video shows what the family says are drones in the sky, but they say these drones are much bigger than what we're used to.
First off, it's their own little light show going on up there. It's the flashing red, green, and white lights. And then when you do get a shape of it, it's almost like a plane.
Whatever type of drone, it's now making its presence known in Tacoma. Local officials say they've heard of reports of drones seen around the Narrows Bridge, flying over Commencement Bay, and most recently above the Eldowins' heads.
It doesn't seem like anybody really knows what it is, and it's happening all over the place.
The Tacoma drones appear to be similar to others popping up in New Jersey, D.C., and beyond. Tacoma's own mystery drone video already has people chiming in on social media.
Somebody asked about what direction they were coming in. Somebody else had asked about why there was no interception. I believe that anything
it's possible out there.
Somebody's flying these things around, or, I don't think they're flying themselves, but I mean, who knows what they could be. But yeah, I think, we need answers or something from somewhere.
And that was Fox 13's Dave Detling reporting tonight. We have new reports of a similar situation in another western state. Hill Air Force Base officials have confirmed recent sightings of unmanned drones flying near the base, which is north of Salt Lake City. Officials have not said when the sightings happened or how close those drones got to the base. Base officials say they're now monitoring the airspace and working with local law enforcement to try to track down those unmanned drones. The first unusual drone sightings here in the West happened last week. We told you about them. People reported seeing several drones flying over Temecula, California in Riverside County. Officials at nearby Camp Pendleton say they're aware of the situation, but they say the base was not involved in flying those drones. And in Washington, D.C., Pentagon officials spoke to lawmakers today during a classified House Intelligence Committee briefing on these drone sightings. They continue to insist there is no threat to national security or public safety. Officials say the unidentified objects are a combination of legally operated drones, planes, helicopters, and stars. But they do acknowledge that some drones have flown over military bases, which is a crime.
In and of itself, just given the volume of drone flights we see on a given day, is not something that's new. In each case, commanders have the authority, installation commanders and authorities have the authority to respond appropriately, and will continue to do that.
We got a lot of answers, but there's some unanswered questions. And I think, quite frankly, the technology of drones has outpaced the law. I think that's kind of the bottom line.
The U.S. Senate passed legislation today granting states more authority to defend against drones. That bill is now on its way to the House, potentially for approval there. In Santa Fe, New Mexico, political turmoil has erupted within the Navajo Nation over a sexual harassment case involving top leadership. The tribe's Attorney General, Ethel Branch, announced on Monday an investigation has cleared tribal president Boo Nygren of allegations made by Vice President Rachel Montoya. The nation's council then voted to oust the Attorney General without public discussion or a reason outlined in legislation. Montoya says she's eager to see the report and see what she says she experienced was not considered a crime, or she wants to understand why it was not considered a crime under Navajo law, while the president's critics are now circulating a recall election petition. The deadline is looming for TikTok to sell before it's potentially banned here in the U.S. Congress passed a law back in April requiring TikTok's Chinese parent company ByteDance to divest from the app by January 19th. TikTok sued, arguing that this is a violation of free speech. An appeals court, however, rejected that argument, and TikTok is now taking its fight to the U.S. Supreme Court. Lawmakers say the platform is a national security threat.
What we want to know is that TikTok is structured in a way that it cannot share Americans' data with the Communist Party of China.
This is not about banning the app. This is about preventing the PRC from being able to exploit data gathered on many Americans. So this is about protecting our privacy.
TikTok asked the Supreme Court to make a decision by January 6th, so they have time to coordinate shutting down the app if that ban is in fact enforced. Up next tonight here on West Coast Rap, no hard feelings over the upcoming Super Bowl halftime show. What New Orleans native Lil Wayne is saying about being passed over for that gig to make way for a performance by Southern California hip-hop superstar Kendrick Lamar. Also, this elf is not just on a shelf, it's all over one neighborhood. The holiday display getting a lot of attention in Arizona. Tonight, first responders in Las Vegas are issuing a warning for hikers. Las Vegas police rescue crews say they have saved 9 people from South Loop Trail over the past few weeks. Many of those rescues involve serious injuries because of the icy conditions and hikers who went out with improper equipment. Police say hikers need to prepare for these conditions, bring along traction devices to avoid sliding on the ice, and they also need to know their limits. Well, as we approach the peak of this year's holiday shopping season, many retailers say theft is a growing problem. Fox's Kennedy Hayes talked with industry leaders in Denver about what they're facing.
According to the study, shoplifting reports jumped 93% last year compared to before the COVID-19 pandemic. Those surveyed experienced an average of 177 shoplifting incidents per day in 2023. NRF did the study this past summer. The survey looked at more than 160 retailers, everything from grocery, pharmacy to luxury stores. The survey found retail theft tactics are changing. There's more reports of larger amounts of merchandise being stolen at once and repeat offenders. Retailers say shoplifting rings have become a bigger problem. Some of the cities seeing the most organized retail crimes this year include Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, and Houston. Retail workers are also dealing with more threats of violence.
A worker will try to intervene, and sometimes even when a security guard intervenes, there is extraordinary violence. It's not just about the protection of property. This is ultimately about the protection of a life.
The National Retail Federation says retail theft also tends to increase during the holiday season, so the best thing to do as a shopper if you're involved in one of these incidents is to first get to a safe place, then call 911. In Denver, Kennedy Hayes, Fox News.
Tonight, Lil Wayne is making it clear he has no animosity toward Kendrick Lamar after the West Coast superstar was chosen as the halftime performer for this year's Super Bowl in New Orleans. Wayne is a New Orleans native and said publicly that he was disappointed when he didn't get the gig, but the NFL went with Kendrick Lamar after the Compton, California native blew up on the charts this year with hits including Not Like Us. During an appearance on the Skip Bayless show, Lil Wayne revealed he spoke with Kendrick Lamar about the Super Bowl controversy.
He seems to be over it, Wayne is. He's not disappointed about it anymore. And he said, I told Kendrick to go out there and to put on a great show. So it doesn't seem like there are any hard feelings between Wayne and Kendrick. And it does seem like Wayne is wishing Kendrick all the luck in the world when he goes out there in February.
And many music fans are now wondering if Lil Wayne will be making a cameo appearance during Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl halftime performance. We will have to see what happens in February. Finally, tonight, a mysterious holiday display is getting a lot of attention in one Arizona neighborhood. A giant elf-on-the-shelf doll is switching locations overnight in Gilbert. This is southeast of Phoenix. Neighbors say they enjoy seeing where the elf will end up each day.
One time he was tied to that tree in Christmas lights saying Christmas lights.
A couple of days ago he was playing checkers down the street, so with the reindeer. That was actually kind of cute.
A few days ago, the elf went into our basketball hoop and it was like in there.
And it's still unclear who is moving the elf each night, but certainly a lot of fun for that neighborhood and all the kids there waiting to see where the elf will wind up next. And that does it for West Coast Wrap tonight. We appreciate you watching as always. And a quick reminder, before we go tonight, you can stay up to date on all the big stories we're covering across the West at our website. It's westcoastwrap.com. And don't forget to stream our shows with your smart TV. You can do it with the free Fox Local app. Have a great night.